Today on the Topic Show, Joe Biden says that President Trump should do his job and help the hurricane victims. Kamala Harris's husband says that the abuse allegations are simply distractions. Stellantis CEO to retire in 2026. Tesla robotaxi, well, it's a little bit of a lackluster and the stock continues to struggle. However, Elon's Optimus humanoid robot does go viral. Howard Stern interviews Kamala Harris and calls her the law and order candidate. Urban Bruce and City Griller recalled nearly 10 million pounds of meat. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder released twice a day. Guys, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase. Go to toppingtechnologies.com to learn more. Also, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have the Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares saying he will retire in 2026. That, is it 2026 yet? Because things have not been going well over there. Now, reminder for those who aren't automotive enthusiasts or they don't really follow the community that much, a lot of Americans, I don't think, have heard of Stellantis. It's been a couple years since they had that new name. Unfortunately, Chrysler, which also owned Jeep as well as Dodge, they went bankrupt in 2009, and at that point, Fiat, the European conglomerate, as well as an individual brand, they bought them out, which was sad because, passing of the torch, so to say, in Chrysler, before Tesla, was the only successful American automotive startup for almost 100 years. We'll see if Rivian makes a profit at the end of the day and actually stays in business. Time shall tell. But with Fiat, that brand, the Fiat Group, or Fiat Chrysler America, how they were called here, well, they decided to go with a new name called Stellantis, which, for how many European and how many Italian companies they own, sounds kind of like an Italian fancy name. Stellantis, perhaps. But nevertheless, they have about 15 to 17 automotive brands in their portfolio right now, and they are destroying Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, I believe. And you look at the North American profits, it's down about 50%. Dealerships are irate, customers are irate, all around not doing good. Perhaps perhaps taking the heart out of the company, or taking the heart out of the patient as they're on the examination table is not a prudent thing to do. I say that because one of the things that they destroyed, to me, was the thing they were known for best. The good old Hemi, the V8 engine, American muscle, the Dodge Charger, the Dodge Challenger, with engines probably the size of a Fiat, or damn near close, and they did have they respect their customers enough to give good old stick shift, as I would argue all vehicles should have by default. But they decided, and again, I understand this is partially because the government bullying them with EPA mandates, all this kind of stuff. So I understand why they're making EVs, but they decided to go all in on a lot of EVs. The new Charger is going to be a plug-in, and eventually they'll have a straight six turbo engine, which they're cramming that into everything these days, which is good for BMW. A straight six with a stick shift, that's awesome. But yeah, when you're coming from, again, the hemispherical, the Hemi engine, going to a straight six automatic, pretty anemic to say the least, and not what enthusiasts really want. And it's gotten to the point where the CEO is finally saying, well, I'm going to step away. And keep in mind, the shareholders, more often than not, shareholders will approve salary and compensation packages by the executives. It's pretty rare for them to push back, actually, especially when the CEOs are doing well and leading the company, increasing the stock price, getting more dividends out. Usually everybody's hunky-dory, as my grandpa probably would have said. But Stellantis, there's such turmoil there. The investors, what was it, last year, voted down his compensation package, which that's when you know you're making some pretty big mistakes. Now, this comes to us thanks to The Verge, specifically Umar, who's a writer over there. They say specifically, quote, Stellantis CEO promises to leave in 2026 after making a mostly mess of things. Now, they say that Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares is replacing the company's CFO North America and COO as struggling to handle the business. So, yeah, things aren't going great. And here you can see, visual warning, I'm sorry, this will hurt your eyes. The new Dodge Charger, which at least it's a coupe, I'll give them that much, but yeah, it's electric. Apparently they'll have some exhaust sounds. So that's it'll be nice speakers in there. Ridiculous, but Michelle 18 prospective customers will love that specific vehicle. Now, they say, quote, Stellantis is shaking up their leadership. The company announced he'll end his contract at 2026 and lead the company. Now, they say the changes come as Stellantis struggles to maintain the U.S. auto business, which again is one of the most important markets in the world. In fact, one of the reasons so many companies are acquiescing to boring, or debatably boring technology like EVs is because in California, California alone is the 10th largest automotive area on the planet. It's bigger than most countries. That's why it has so much of an influence on the automotive community. And again, North America is one of the most important markets for all automotive brands. Now, they say, quote, this comes as they struggle to maintain U.S. auto business, which includes Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, which don't get me started on the marketing of them having a quote-unquote spin-off with Dodge, the new Dodge Ram now just being Ram, which I don't know, I think is insulting to the Dodge brothers, which is incidentally one of my favorite books I read this year. Or is it? The Dodge, simply put, it's called The Dodge Brothers. And I usually read a book a month, usually business or philosophy of politics. Let me know if you'd be interested for me to do a book of the month, or if I put the description or the URL to the book in the description of the show. A little ADHD as usual. Now, again, one of the biggest issues with this, which again, they're so bad, such a bad decision, they decided to have the Ram 1500 truck, which again is one of the most popular trucks in North America. North America is dominated by the U.S. automotive community. You have good old Ford, or the Ford F-250, 350, 450, 150. You have the Chevrolet 1500, 2500, 3500. Yes, you do have GMC 1500. It's the same thing. But again, the big three traditionally dominated truck sales in North America. And then Dodge, Ram, Stellantis decided, you know what? Instead of the V8 that Americans love and they appreciate as truck drivers, well, we're going to have the new Dodge 1500, the Ram 1500 truck. We're going to kill the V8. So that now comes with the same turbocharged straight six that's in all the other bastardized vehicles in Stellantis portfolio, which does decrease cost, but also decrease sales because people don't want that on average. I actually had a couple of my friends who bought Ram trucks lately in the past couple of years, and they actually intentionally made sure they got one of the last 1500s with the V8. Now, if you want a V8 pickup truck from Stellantis Group or the Stellantis portfolio, it has to be the Ram 2500 or 3500, which again is going to be even more expensive as well. Which again, all the math will say, oh yeah, the straight six is just as much towing, torque, and all that kind of stuff as old V8. Yes, but in terms of longevity of the product, again, I'm not an engineer by any means, but a lot of truck owners, a lot of automotive enthusiasts would rather have a larger engine working less hard than a smaller engine working harder for the same results. And especially with truck drivers, is a huge culture. It's one of those things where people buy a truck partially just because their grandpa had the same brand, same trim line, and because they have the same engine. So when I think of why Stellantis is struggling so much, I think those are two of the biggest factors. You also have way too many brands under the portfolio. I mean, Alfa Romeo, which I do appreciate, they have some cool stuff. That's also one of the brands they own that's struggling in the U.S. And it's just been terrible. Now, they say the company was They said Tavares led Stellantis at the company's inception in 2021, which again, that was the merger between Fiat Chrysler and Peugeot. While the company was profitable in 2023, it's been slow to adopt to EVs compared to other automakers. Inebriated at the verge. That's not why they're doing so bad. Because again, the fastest growing product category in the United States for automotive industry is, well, hybrids. Not that I'm a fan, but that's where most consumers are starting to kind of look towards and purchase more of, not EVs. That adoption rate is decreasing, actually, though the sales overall are increasing. But yeah, I actually don't think that's the main reason. Like, not having enough EVs, that's not why they're hurting. Now, they also have the United Auto Workers, which is the union for the automotive community. They're accusing Stellantis of not upholding contract agreements when they're saying they might have to outsource some things to Mexico, as well as actually ending the production of certain of their products. So I was about to say I don't know how they turn it around, but I have a couple ideas. I'm not sure. They're not by no means guarantee, but one would be give the people the V8 they want. That would certainly help. Make fewer. Unfortunately, it's kind of sad because I love automotive history, and I just think there's too many brands in North America. I mean, with Fiat alone, that one brand, I've seen about 18 on the road the past decade. They had their moment, don't get me wrong, but I think they probably operated at a loss in terms of just the cost of having that in the US and selling them. I think they need to trim their portfolio to give people what they want. And then again, it's rough, but you have to decrease your cost of goods sold. It also means decreasing your labor. Perhaps it means introducing automation. But yes, it's very interesting. The CEO's, stepping down. It'll be interesting to see what his succession plan looks like. Because again, people want results now. Automotive community, especially the automotive industry, especially is a kind of a long cycle in terms of getting things done. But let me know, do you think, would you give him another, if you're a shareholder, especially let me know, would you give him another year, a couple years to turn things around, or do you think he's had his time, it's not going great? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Tesla's robotaxi event was a little lackluster, and their stock is a little bit hurt. Now, don't get me wrong, overall throughout history, some of the most successful stocks since the dawn of time. And geez Louise, what was the IPO at? Was it $16 or $17 per share? And yeah, I'd say so. None of this financial advice. hindsight's already 2020 when it comes to investing, but geez Louise. I talk about a lost opportunity. The company that no one thought would succeed, and historically speaking, it is statistically astonishing what Elon has done with the business. Now, let's just look at their stock trend really quick before we dive into the article. Now, granted, of course, this is a fun and depressing if you just kind of think about lost opportunities. The max of the stock, so throughout all the time, it's gone up, oh geez Louise, 16, again, this is astonishing, 16,915.63%. Also known as insanely good. Look at their 5-year trend. That's still pretty darn good. 5-year trend is up 1,217.6%. That's pretty darn good, especially, again, on average, the automotive community is extremely cutthroat. It's extremely, pretty tight margins. And again, no company, EVs have lost money for decades when people try to make them. Elon made it profitable. It took years, but that in and of itself is a huge business accomplishment. Don't get me wrong, I'd never buy one because all my vehicles always have 3 pedals, also known as a manual transmission, as they all should have by default. That's kind of what I love to do. But I still appreciate their engineering and being able to basically pull off and achieve the unachievable. Now, where it gets a little bit more concerning is, well, what's the 1-year trend look like when, and again, on the average, S&P 500 is doing pretty darn good. Well, the past year, not so great. The stock is down negative 17.18%. Granted, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, the stock will change because that's what it does. Currently trading for about $217.80 per share. Now, the year to date, it's still about down 12%. 6 months, hindsight's 2020, should have invested. And that's pretty good. It's actually up 25%. But yeah, past 1 month, kind of cratered down about 4.53%. And last week went down 12.52% on the news of the humanoid robot. Or sorry, that one's doing good. The news of the robotaxi, well, it's not great. Now, going over to the Reuters article, this is by Chris Kirkman, saying, quote, Tesla's robotaxi event was long as Musk promises. Investors want more details, though. And, it'll be interesting. This would sell like hotcakes if that vehicle is actually made out of that material that it looks like. It looks like a Cybertruck material, like stainless steel. If it's actually bullet resistant, this would be a hit in places like Chicago and Detroit, where it most certainly is needed. Now, going to the actual substance of the article, they say, quote, for a businessman who perpetually struggles and broken promises, Elon Musk gave himself quite a to-do list. Tesla's long-awaited Hollywood unveil of the driverless robotaxis. His slew of announcements during a 20-minute presentation were short on practical details and prompted investors to push Tesla stock as much as 10% last Friday. After traversing the fake streets of Warner Bros. Movie studio last week, the silver two-door, oh, this is cute, it's called the Cyber Cab, all right, I like it, prototype, he promised that the community's popular Model 3 and Y vehicles would also be able to operate without a driver's supervision in California and Texas next year. That's pretty quick, relatively speaking. Elon Musk said that the company would start building these fully autonomous cybercabs by 2026. Now, this is insane. At a price of less than $30,000, and showed off a robo-van capable of transporting 20 people around town, which he said would reshape cities by turning parking lots into parks, which, I don't know about that. $30,000. Again, Tesla historically is one of the most profitable cybersecurity companies. Or sorry, they should do that as well. Who knows what Elon will do tomorrow with all his startups, but one of those popular automotive companies. And again, another friendly reminder, click that subscribe button. I have a theory, the more subscribers I've gained, the better I'd be able to speak. When I first started the show, I had barely any subscribers, and believe it or not, spoke worse than I did back then to today. Spoke even faster, mostly monotone, and stumbled over my words more than Joe Biden trying to walk upstairs. But as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I've slowly but surely increased my speaking acumen, and someday hope to have an entire episode of perfect speaking skills. A tall order, a tall goal, a lofty goal, some might say, but you have to aim for something. So if you can click that button and tell your friends, well, shoot, tell your enemies. They might become your friends. I greatly appreciate it. Now, going back to me attempting to speak. Now, they note that Thursday's night's electric dance music infused had the event signature trappings of Musk salesmanship, but some Tesla investors and experts said that they were hoping for more concrete details on how the company plans to transform from an automaker to an autonomous driving and artificial intelligence titan with a solid business plan, which, again, he also says, geez Louise, I just can't get past that price point. $30,000, that's nothing relative to the automotive community. Because again, that's cost to the consumer. And Elon's changed his prices throughout the years. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure we'll see what the actual price is at the end of the day. But that means they have to make it for $15,000 to $22,000 to remain. Because again, you have massive overhead. You have employees at the factory. That's a massive undertaking. And shoot, he's pulled off the impossible before. Again, getting to that aggressive price point can be a tall order. Now, they also say that Tesla shares were down 7.8% midday trading at the announcement of this. The Tesla stock, which has plummeted since its record high late in 2021 by fears of cheaper EV rivals eating into Tesla's market share, is up 40% since April when Musk announced the shift to robotaxis. So the shares were down about 9% past 12 months compared to nearly 33 increase by the broad market S&P 500 index, which historically speaking, again, not financial advice, but that's one of the safest bets out there in terms of being a barometer for the economy, as well as increasing over time. Partially because again, it's a diversification of 500 of those businesses. Now you also have someone by we actually have CEO Gerber Kowalski Wealth and Investment Management saying, "quote His vision is lovely, but someone has to actually realized it. For now, for the next 24 months, Tesla has to sell EVs. Why aren't they focusing on that?" Which I'm sure he's going to try to focus on both things at once, which most people can't do. But shoot, with Elon's, with his brain power, shoot, I mean, maybe we'll go back to sleeping in the factories again and make it happen. It'll be interesting, but again, I think there's so many people skeptical about this technology actually hitting the streets. It's very similar to when Elon says he's going to have fully autonomous driving. He's been saying that for about 10 years. And don't get me wrong, they've made huge leaps and bounds in research, innovation, and development, and it's getting closer. But again, I mean, you have all the other competitors also trying to do the autonomous vehicles. I believe you also have places like Uber trying to do it. It is almost like the holy grail for what they think is auto community. Although personally, I find it the antithesis of I would think it'd be a living hell personally, because I mean, yeah, I don't care if I'm the last person on the planet, taking a shovel out to the middle of Oklahoma or Texas to get that drop of oil. I want to drive a stick shift vehicle until I die. Obviously, the gas engine. Hopefully someday with a V8 or V10 or V12. Someday, man can dream. But let me know in the comments. Do you think, again, there's so much hype around this technology? Another question to ask is, would people really accept it? Do people really want to be transported with these robo-taxis? That being, you, as a wise man once said, you can, lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. That'd be another interesting question. Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the culture part podcast, you have Elon Musk and Tesla's Optimus humanoid robot going viral. Now, it's also a great testament in terms of non-traditional marketing, because I don't think Tesla does a couple like the YouTube ads. Hopefully they get on Rumble and better platforms, but you really don't see a lot of advertising from Tesla. I mean, Elon, historically, he hated the whole idea of paying for advertising when he founded the company. He's loosened the purse strings a little bit since then. But yeah, this basically cost him nearly nothing in terms of, I'm sure Elon has them paying, X, Twitter. Maybe he's giving them a discount for this ad. Actually, this isn't even an ad. It's just them posting on their account. Now, they do have the green check mark. Or no, not green. I'm sorry. I just love the color green. But they have the gold check mark, which I believe that means it costs the business. How much is a gold? I thought it was $10,000 per year. To me, it was astronomical for my business. I wouldn't get it, but again, if you're a large corporation like that, it makes sense to have an extra fancy authorized account. Now, they say, quote, Optimus is a personal R2D2 C3PO, but better, it will also transform physical labor in industry settings. I can't believe we went 8 seconds without Disney knocking down the door and trying to just sue everyone for using those terms. Because again, fun fact of the day, Android is actually a trademarked term. And what was it? Was it the Motorola? It was a commercial. I noticed that when I was a kid, like Motorola, and you saw the trademark in the bottom. It's like they actually paid Lucasfilm, not George anymore, unfortunately. They pay them a royalty to use that, which is, I thought, kind of fun business fact of the day. Let me know if you do appreciate or you don't appreciate little business and life ADHD comments that are moderately correlated to the general subject of the show. Now, not too much further ado. It's about 2.5 minutes long, but pretty revolutionary. Of course, it starts off with a bizarre cyber-looking, I don't know, cyber taxi that they're talking about.
Robots. So everything we've developed for our cars, the batteries, power electronics, the advanced motors, gearboxes, the software, the AI inference computer, it all actually applies to a humanoid robot. It's the same techniques. It's just a robot with arms and legs instead of a robot with wheels.
Dun, 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 dun.
And we've made a lot of progress with Optimus. And as you can see, we started up with someone in a robot suit, sort of down, and then we've progressed dramatically year after year.
The bar is pretty low, but those robots are actually walking better than Joe Biden.
So if you extrapolate this, you're really going to have something spectacular.
Or horrifying, a little column A, a little column B.
Something that anyone could own. So you could have your own personal R2D2 C3PO. And I think at scale, this would cost something like, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000. Probably less than a car, is my prediction long term. Now, it'll take us a minute to get to the long term, but fundamentally at scale,
they call it autonomous assistant humanoid friend, or it becomes your enemy.
The Optimus robot, you should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably.
God, that's creepy. They have they have the robot in the background watering a plant. They have a happy family. That is cute in terms of marketing. They did have the kids playing with a toy Cybertruck. I don't know if you consider that an Easter egg, but I like those little subtle marketing note in there.
$20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries.
Will it rob a bank for you? I mean, is he going to have to introduce the 3 laws like iRobot?
Just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I think this will be the biggest product ever of any kind.
He's not wrong.
Because I think everyone, of the 8 billion people of Earth, I think everyone's going to want their Optimus buddy.
I don't know about that, but it did go viral. Got 59.4 million views as well as 59,000 likes, which that's pretty consistent like ratio there. Now, one of the first comments going is from Johnny Loveless saying, quote, "I'm pretty sure they've made like 500 movies about this. Nevertheless, cover your ears if you have trouble listening. Nevertheless, if it can pleasure me, we have a deal." Getting 1.1 thousand likes. A lot of these comments. Reality Timmy says almost there in his article from The Sun from 2015 saying we'll be having adult relations with robots in the next 10 years, which, yeah, that got 2,000 likes. Dr. Disrespect says, finally someone to watch my Lamborghini, getting 1.8 thousand likes. I thought that guy was canceled. Should have been. Shane Counter says, this is awesome. Tesla is shaping the future right in front of us, getting 275 likes. They certainly are. Jesse Graves says, this is amazing and I can't wait to own one, but also, where are all the people going to work when the people get replaced by robots? Getting 201 likes, which is one of the age-old discussions, the age-old debates since we, I mean, really the biggest debate started around the invention of the cotton gin back in the day in terms of the debate of will new technology destroy jobs or will it create new jobs? And that'd be an interesting, I'd be especially interested if you're a telecom worker. And back in the day, when you wanted to make a phone call, you had these gals who sat at these massive switches. They'd actually manually take the cords and move them from one to the other in order to complete the call. Now, obviously, that technology's subsequently go the way of the dodo bird. But in terms of people working in telecommunications, not just manufacturers of smartphones, but also working at the giant conglomerates like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. I mean, overall, how many new jobs are created? And at the end of the day, were there more or less? Were there really any jobs lost? Now, again, even with the humanoid robots, you're going to need someone to manufacture them. You also need someone to maintain them. You need, well, not just software research and development, but also software updates. These things are going to need. I mean, no matter what people tell you, it's always just going to need some type of maintenance. Especially have so many of those moving components. It'll be interesting to see. Not to lean into the comments, but it'll probably need some type of lubrication for a lot of those joints. So, let me know in the comments. Do you think this will actually destroy jobs forever? Will it create new jobs? Will it be about the same number at the end of the day? I mean, this is going to. I mean, in terms. You've already seen this application, especially in the automotive community. I mean, I know Mercedes, there's a couple of brands that are experimenting with them. Again, it's very small scale at the moment. A lot of the technology, just because of the battery, really one of the biggest constraints is the power. So, a lot of these have externally powered, so a glorified, extension cord plugged into them. It's fancier than that, but a lot of them are set up with that currently. And yeah, I think factory workers, especially automotive manufacturing, is going to be the biggest thing. I believe it's going to be displaced, as well as warehouse workers, where you have a lot of repetitive motions that could be, well, obviously it's not detrimental, but it's wear and tear of the human body. A lot of those repetitive actions, I think, will be gone first, especially if it's something as rudimentary as, just moving boxes from one place to another. And this will be one of the biggest innovations in business since the dawn of time. I believe that's, especially once it hits critical mass, once you get these things really rolling out the doors. Again, the first couple ones are going to cost, millions of dollars if you take into account research, development, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be comically expensive, like most things are when you have the very first iteration of a new product. But over time, usually costs go down per unit. And I don't think it's inconceivable to get that price point of $30,000. Now, a lot of people are speculating, these going to be like, you have people like Bernie Sanders and all these other politicians, socialists, but a lot of them are saying, well, maybe we just tax the robots or something like that. Or there's a lot of debate on, how do we not have a huge disruption in the U.S. economy while still having these benefits of new technologies. And it'll be interesting to see at the end of the day what that debate is. And another thing is, just culturally speaking, do people want this? Again, there are some interesting, innovative technologies, but they just fall flat on their face because people don't like it. They reject it. One of the biggest comical things was Google Glass. Some people are just saying it wasn't the right timing, as people have more and more wearable technologies now. But I mean, when Google Glass came out, that was a thing where you basically had a creepy little screen, little glasses where you had a screen in front of you, and then you also had a camera, so it was recording everything you do. And culturally speaking, a lot of people rejected it. Also had a high price point, didn't help out the cause as well. But there's certain technologies people just push away. Now, this one, obviously, the biggest component I see in terms of short-term sales is going to be business to business. So you're going to have, Tesla will make it for themselves, but they might sell it to competing automotive companies. They might sell it to other factories. Shoot, Foxconn will probably buy things up by the truckload. I think in terms of business to consumer, where people like you and I could buy as an individual, that would be the later iteration of product, partially because businesses have more money to invest for factory assembly, where you and I mean, geez, $30,000 that's life changing. That's a lot of money for a lot of folks. I mean, shoot, that's nearly the price of a car. So I think, again, that price rate will really need to go down more over time in order to have individuals adopt it. But yeah, definitely revolutionary. It's very fascinating. It's, quite concerning from a security perspective because, well, it's electronic, and anything that's electronic can and usually will be hacked by malicious actors. So, yeah, and also, half the comments are comical because they're talking about, adult content, which they'll be used for that, I'm sure, as well. But in terms of actual, cultural interactions and, what is stopping this robot from being used for bad? Now, again, I don't think those reasons will be enough to actually stop this innovation and actually come to the market. But just like AI, there's Google, what's this stupid thing called? The Google AI? Is it Genesis? But not the cool Sega video game platform. But there's a time where they asked, Google Genesis, hey, what option is better for humanity? Not misgender Caitlyn Jenner, or thermonuclear war. The robot said we should do thermonuclear war. They said that option was preferable versus misgendering someone. That's insane, obviously. And Caitlyn Jenner hilariously, a couple days later said, hey, please, do misgender me as opposed to destroying humanity. So that goes to, who's going to be programming these AIs? Humans. Humans are, by their very nature, imperfect. Many of them have malicious thoughts and, actions. So that's another concern, is who's going to program the AI for these robots as well, and what are the safeguards that people don't just order them to, go rob a bank or do other malicious things. So I think it will hit the market. I don't think there's the amount of benefits very similar to the internet in and of itself. Well, I guess we can debate till the end of time. Oh, I can debate till the end of time in terms of the benefits versus, pros and cons versus social media. And I would argue if you're under 18, it's definitely more bad than good. But at the end of the day, I think it will come to the market. People will eventually buy them up. But let me know. Do you think it'll actually be blocked? Do you think a government, especially the defense industry, they're going to love this. So I can't help but think the government's not going to regulate it in terms of stopping the adaptation and the manufacture of technologies and the new products. But let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Joe Biden telling, quote, President Trump to get a life and help the hurricane victims, which, let's see here. Apparently, they're still working together. Apparently. But not really. Now, this comes with thanks to End Wokeness, in which he says, quote, President Trump, get a life, man, help these hurricane victims. Which, actually, apologies. Had a little brain fart today. Skipped over the fun part of the cultural part, so apologies. You won't see the hiccup if you watch the individual clips, but one of those days, another brain fart. Click the subscribe button. Maybe it'll help with my ineptitudes. Perhaps, hopefully. But going on to other interesting cultural news, you have cultural news. You got Howard Stern calling Kamala the, quote, the law and order candidate, even though she bailed out rioters and let cities burn to the ground. Which, yeah, Howard Stern's been delusional for probably over a decade. But, yeah, I shouldn't be too surprised. He's very much a leftist. And I think partially because he had to bow down to that because he knows he'll get canceled because he's done multiple things that everyone else gets canceled for blackface and being pejoratively racist, and he has not. I think it's because he, quote unquote, toes the line. Now, This is brought to us thanks to Libs of TikTok. And yeah, something about
To me, you're
16-second clip. But I usually say before clip, I'll say, you know, what they have to say is infinitely more wise than what I say, but in this case, not so much. The only thing Howard did right, which is a short list, but ladies and gentlemen, did suit up for the occasion. As we all know, good men always suit up, and he even wore a tie, so pretty impressed. He did one thing right. He did suit up for this occasion, even if it is occasion of, you know, interviewing Kamala Harris.
To me, you're the law and order candidate, and yet they
Yeah.
try to paint you like you're some leftist who I don't know, who wants to have people running through the streets committing crimes. You were a prosecutor.
I have put a lot of people in jail.
Yeah, including people. And on that note, jailing, one of the biggest, you know, hypocritical things she did. She jailed people for marijuana. Then she went on a podcast and she admitted that she did it herself. She also kept people for cheap labor. She kept them in prison longer than they should have been, and she even withheld evidence for someone who was on death row until a judge ordered her to release it, so that man wasn't, you know, wrongfully killed. So not the best track record. Also, during the George Floyd Summer of Love riots, guess who was helping bail them out? Kamala Harris. And guess who she was working with? Tim Walz in Minnesota. In fact, we got that screenshot right here. And this is from her. I mean, this isn't, you know, this is her words, not mine. It's from June 1st, 2020, in which she said, quote, "If you're able to, chip into the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for all this protesting on the ground in Minnesota." Now, she wasn't accurate in the vernacular. They weren't protesting, they were rioting, causing fires, and those exact people, I'm not being hyperbolic or bombastic, they actually were bailed out by her in this fund. So, yeah, law and order candidate. And what else did he say?
And yet they
Yeah.
try to paint you like you're some leftist who
Leftist. Well, let's think about that. She says she wants to control the price of products in the United States. Communist. She wants to confiscate guns, and she believes in mass censorship. That's the antithesis of law and order. That's breaking every law. That's breaking the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. That's breaking, yeah. Almost incomprehensible how mentally vacuous Howard Stern is, which is saying something. Now, this moderately got about 350,000 views and 14,000 likes. The first comments coming from Gunther Eagleman, who said, quote, "Howard Stern, as a washed-up POS, this dude is clueless, getting 1,000 likes." True. AKA says, "I wonder what Howard Stern would say about that screenshot getting 47 likes." Yep. Playing on memes, but they did not respond in meme form. Nevertheless, they said, quote, "Does anyone still listen to Howard Stern getting 105 likes?" Which, yeah, a lot of people do listen to him. I mean, at his peak, he was one of the most influential radio show hosts on the planet. I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, his behavior aside, but yeah, I think he peaked a couple years back. He didn't really adapt too quickly to like the more modern era of podcasting, which, again, his whole roots and his whole history is radio. I understand that. But yeah, there's a lot of people who actually used to hate watch him. I always kind of debate with my friends, like, what's that percentage of people who liked Howard Stern to tune in? People who hate him. And I forget who said it. There used to be a quote about saying how people who loved Howard Stern would listen to him for an hour, but people who hated Howard Stern would listen to him for 2 hours, just because they were that obsessed with him. You also have Paul Zupa saying, quote, "Kamala is the law and order like her husband is being faithful to his spouse." In 53 likes. Brick Suit, great name. Great name. He obviously suits up as all men should. It is, in fact, in brick pattern, as Trump would probably say. I believe his real name is Rich. I believe. Now, Brick Suit says, quote, "When did Howard Stern become such a beta cuck?" Getting 1.3 thousand likes. Well, a few years back. It's been that way for a while. Scrolling down more and more. Yeah, not too many contrarian top. Let's see here. Head Bear says she doesn't prosecute the laws he is afraid of. His picture of him with Diddy. Let's see. Rob Patriot says Kamala is not the law and order candidate. Innocents in jail and criminals on the street is her thing, getting 68 likes. And having no border. Let's see here. Kyle Clipper says at least he didn't do the interview for her in blackface, which, yeah, he did that, what was it, a couple decades ago? A lot of people have gotten canceled for that. He hasn't. Wow, there's Howard Stern in blackface. Got some prosthetics on as well.
Oonga boonga. Now, I'm just trying to improve my image. The black people are against me because they say that I'm not a real black man.
Ain't that right, you smelly nigger?
I didn't write that.
Well, you is a smelly nigger.
And I don't mean this in a disparaging way since this is your, but nigger, let me say something.
No, nigga.
They got 21 likes and a reminder of his past, which, again, this is the same guy who cancels everyone for having any type of controversy, especially in jokes. And yet, I mean, let me know, why do you think the mainstream media has not canceled his ass? I mean, this is the most egregious activity that they always want to cancel. All the comedians have done this throughout time. Also poor jokes as well. I would say it's also, in that regard, an insult to comedy and stuff. But nevertheless, I mean, he hasn't gotten canceled yet. Is it because he's always towing the party line? He's still worth millions of dollars as a Daily Show. And all the biggest Hollywood celebrities still go on a show all the time. And about 18 people tune in. I'm kidding about that last part, but yeah. A lot of people, just like Justin Trudeau. He's a far leftist. They haven't canceled him yet. Yet he has a long history of blackface. Let's see. I'm not seeing too many. I'm gonna do one more. Anti-woke meme says Howard Stern is an anti-American POS, and Howard Stern was quoted during the lockdowns or the vaccine. He says, "Well, when are you going to stop putting up with the idiots in this country? Just say, you know, it's mandatory to get vaccinated." Getting 50 likes. Which, I mean, that's what the mainstream media wanted. So, I mean, maybe that's why he still has his job. I don't know. But yeah, calling her the law and order candidate. Even my liberal friends don't believe that. Like, that's just, I mean, no one believes that. But again, I'm not sure this is actually increasing her odds of success or, improving her in the polls. I mean, create the antithesis. It didn't. But let me know, did that win any over, any hearts and minds? Are like the hardcore, Howard enthusiasts going to believe him and, vote for her now? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Biden telling President Trump to do his job and help hurricane victims, which I guess Biden might have forgotten. Interestingly enough, it's one of the few videos where he's actually not on the beach. He's actually, in office, apparently. Might be a green screen, I'm not sure. But yeah, he's saying, Trump, you should do your job. I'm sure a lot of people wish Trump was, the economy would be a lot better. The border would be secure. But yeah, he's saying as if Trump is still in office. Raises the question, how... It still blows my mind that the Department of Justice ruled that they were not going to prosecute Biden for the improper storage of files, because specifically he was not mentally fit to stand trial. That was the technical reason they said it. And yet he still has his job. Fascinating. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness on the good old X, or some fewer people are calling Twitter. And it's only about 10 seconds long without too much further ado. And to Biden's credit, he did suit up. He did do something right. Shortlist, but he suited up. He looks respectable.
Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Hundreds of billions for countries across the globe, and pennies for people that are hurricane victims. Was it $750 per family? Yeah.
Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable?
Shouldn't you be doing that?
You were going to hold those accountable.
Yeah, and of course he doesn't answer any questions. And it went pretty well. Got 3.3 million views and 46,000 likes. My first comments coming from Libercat BTM says, quote, "What the hell? Did the president just ask Donald Trump to do his job for him?" Getting 2,000 likes. Paul Zupa says, "Did Biden forget who's president?" Getting 20,000 likes, which, yeah, probably. Ash Loren says, "Joe Biden sat at the beach for 4 days. What has he done for hurricane victims?" Getting 535 likes. Let's see, any contrarian statements? There's got to be some brewing to the surface. Let's see. The populist Matt Ox says, "Biden calls on Trump to help hurricane victims. Biden has not done anything to personally help, while Trump has housed linemen, organized with Elon Musk to send Starlink and send trucks and supplies, all while being civilian." Getting 9.9 thousand likes. Let's see if we can make him 9.10. Nah, I wasn't the additional like to push over the threshold. But yeah, one instances where it would have been 10,000 likes, math error aside. But yeah, Trump's actually housing people, I believe, in Mar-a-Lago, opening up to people. Yeah, opposite of that, soulless SOB Joel Osteen, which blows my mind. People still respect that trash. Yeah, what was it? Yeah, during the last hurricane that hit Texas, yeah, instead of actually housing the needy, he kept his doors locked because he's worried about them ruining the new carpet in the church or mega stadium, which, sorry, Mattress Mac is awesome. He's found an entrepreneur of a mattress store in Houston. They love him. He opened up his doors like that to help people, which, wise man once that character is not truly known until it is tested. We also have Phoenix 2A saying, "I'm pretty sure he raised millions. His daughter personally passed out Starlinks. He's also not the president. You are, Joe. What the hell?" In 9.6 thousand likes. Lori says, "Applesauce. Does no one brief Biden on the 275 linemen that were hosted for free at Trump Resort?" Get 3.8 thousand likes. Thought I could make it 3.9 thousand. The Chosen Orca says, Trump help these people. I'm going back to the beach. Gained 3.2 thousand likes. Which, let's see here. This is worth reshowing. Aaron Pratt says, here's some news you'll never see or hear about because it's positive. While the news in alignment with Kamala Harris and other political operatives hammer the press, the hurricane is misinformation. President Trump is housing 275 Florida linemen free of charge at his resort.
Joshua Asu. Keith Wales. Tony Johnson. Yep. Ben Williams.
Okay, you know, would be another good idea. I should just say, you know what? All the overtime these men and women are working, tax-free. It doesn't sound like a lot, but every penny counts, especially in this economy. And just a gesture, I think, they have to do something. Better than nothing. But, I digress. Let's see, is anyone sticking up for old Joe? Wow, that really raised a lot of money. I think it's $1 million last time I checked. So AI Emerald Apple says, looks like he is. And it's Trump on GoFundMe. It says, support Hurricane Helene victims. Trump authorized, wow, that raised $7.6 million. Got 4.3 thousand likes for that post. So, yeah, it's another funny blunder by Biden, which I know I don't have much ground to stand on. Lord knows what I'm speaking up to is my speaking blunders, about on par with Joe Biden's speaking or walking skills. But, yeah, completely forgetting you're still the president. Well, while he did correct it, it's still quite concerning for who the hell is running our country actually right now. And yeah, and all the responses just highlighting how Trump is actually, doing things to help out. That certainly not great news for Biden and not good for news for Kamala, and just makes Trump like an even more exceptional candidate. But let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news: you have Kamala Harris's husband saying that the allegations against him beating women is simply a distraction, while not actually denying it. Now, a little refresher. Just a couple weeks ago, the left were saying, oh yeah, this guy's a staple of being a masculine, the new form of masculine figure in America. I mean, this is what real men are. Which, no, apparently this evil, mentally vacuous, morally vacuous individual hit a female so hard, apparently his ex-girlfriend, he found it, he hit her so hard, she turned around like in a cartoon. And apparently he also pressured her to go through an abortion. This guy's one of those evil men. This guy's, again, these are allegations. That's proven to be true. I mean, he's scum. Yet he wants to be the first lady, or the first man, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is coming to us thanks to Steve Guest, who says, quote, terrible word choice. The second gentle person, Doug Emhoff, calls the allegations that he hit his ex-girlfriend in the face a distraction. He says it's not denial. Doug is a lawyer. His decision to pivot when asked about DV was deliberate decision. Which, if he's a lawyer, he knows what he's saying. Or rather, not saying. Which, it's only about a minute long. I do apologize. It might be a little painful. It's on MSNBC, which, as youth might say, cringe. But without too much further ado.
About you, saying that tabloid stories about your personal life, saying it should be front and center. He's saying it about your wife and making incredibly crude and lewd suggestions about her past life. I'm just curious. I know I seem like a very zen, mindful person, but I think I'd be pissed off. And I'm just wondering, how do you all stay centered? How do you stay disciplined and not really go off and not really push back hard at these things?
We don't have time to be pissed off. We don't have time to focus on it. It's all a distraction. It's designed to try to get us off our game.
Does it get you off your game?
No. All we are doing, all we talk about is this election. We understand the stakes. We understand the responsibility.
What are
we
the
understand
stakes?
What
are the stakes?
Our very country, our future. What kind of future are we going to have?
Hopefully not a future where the second gentleman, whatever you want to call it, is a wife abuser or a woman abuser. That's disgusting and terrible. And yet, he's what they say is a new form of masculinity. Ridiculous. The only thing he did right is he did suit up. He did one thing right in his life. Not sure why they don't have the same last name as, I don't know why Kamal doesn't have his last name, but nevertheless, Now, it went moderately viral, got 803,000 views as well as 5.8 thousand likes, which is quite a few to say the least. And another friendly reminder to like this video or, downvote it. Let me know why in the comments so I can do better. One of the first comments on there, which I'm a little biased. I believe this comment is made by the most handsome and brilliant, men out there, admittedly. That's a joke because it's me. So I say, again, follow me at the good old X Twitter at The Topping Show. And I say, why do the leftists always try to take their worst and turn them into heroes? Getting 3 likes, which I would argue those 3 are the best. It's all about quality over quantity. Those are the best 3. Or as Trump would say, those are the best 3, the real winners, the real cool folks. They like all my posts. They're the best. They subscribe and comment. But I'm sure, allegedly said by Trump, or something to that effect. I got, again, 3 likes. Now, one of the more, popular comments comes from the Amish dude saying, quote, this closes the election with case is overseas and likely beyond the statute of limitations with no one named in the article to defame. I think he'll deny it unless he's afraid to make the witness come out in the woodwork. Okay, 121 likes. Florida Dad says, I'm not sure I've ever heard a question couched and more outs than the partisan abomination other than mouth diarrhea, getting 252 likes. Bojack says they sent Joe instead of Mike because Doug might have slapped Mike. Oh, geez. Yeah, 211 likes. Salty Cracker, which A+ for marketing, is in fact a picture of a salty cracker. Not sure they're sponsored by Big Cracker Mondelez or one of those companies. Who makes the biggest? Pepperidge Farm? I digress. Let's quote, girlfriend sapper being interviewed by a dude who probably killed his intern. Whoa, getting 232 likes. You also have, Colonial Maga saying, never thought a little dentist on Rudolph would grow up to be an MSNBC wackadoodle. Getting 34 likes. I was going to say, it's 'tis the season. Christmas is getting closer before we know it. Gilly's Cool Dad says, a real journalist would ask the question, so you don't deny it. Getting 46 likes. Yep. Never forget, just last week, MSNBC, in an undercover interview, thanks to James O'Keefe, admitted, oh yeah, we make our viewers dumber, more aggressive towards, Republicans, and we're also doing everything possible to push Kamala to have her win. Saying the quiet part out loud. But let me know, do you think, apparently, when you look at the demographics of, on average, who votes left versus votes right, more women do vote, historically speaking, on left, especially if they're unmarried, and the rates are astronomical. And they're always the one that say, believe all women, and, they say they care about women's rights. Do you think this will actually influence them not to vote for the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz ticket because of these allegations? Let me know in the comments, because, as always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Urban Bruce and City Grillers recalling nearly 10 million pounds of meat. This comes to us thanks to Ariel, who's a writer at New York Post, which she says, quote, nearly 10 million pounds of ready-to-eat beef and chicken recalled due to listeria outbreak. Here you can see some of those packages right now, so if you have them in the freezer, toss them away, because I'm sure they'll have a recall note or a little, UPC identification, but I don't think it's worth the risk. Throw them all out. Now, they say, quote, major meat packer is recalled nearly 10 million pounds due to listeria. The companies are known as Bruce Pack. They are based in Durant, Oklahoma. And those brains at brains. Click that subscribe button. It may help when speaking aptitudes. Lord knows I have a lot more than usual these days. But as historically speaking, get more subscribers, I'd be more articulated at speaking. So if you can click that button, greatly appreciate it. Maybe we'll get through a whole episode perfect someday, I hope. Again, those brands include Urban Bruce and City Grillers. They recalled, right under a million. 9,086,245 pounds of ready-to-eat products that were produced from June 19th this year until October 8th, according to the Department of Agricultural, Food and Safety Inspection Service. The agency said these products were shipped to other establishments and distributors nationwide, then distributed to restaurants and institutions. The USDA said it discovered the issue after conducting routine testing at poultry products. The testing came back as positive for Listeria monococcus, a special bacteria causes the infection, lead to death in severe cases, which we unfortunately did see because, or rather not because of, but we saw in the instance of the boar's head recall, which they had the same issue that has led many people to be sick and even people to pass away from consuming the product. So it's so bad over there, they actually shut down the factory. Now, they also note that, it looks like the upside, they say that there are no confirmed reports of infections caused as a result of consuming these products that we've yet known about. And they're telling restaurant owners to be especially careful since some of them are buying these in direct. So a lot of the big sales is coming from not just stores like Walmart and Target, but also indirectly when they're selling to these. Now, they said, during the listeria outbreak with the boar's head, that was about 23 people in the hospital and a few people, for illnesses, as well as a couple people actually passed away. So you have to be especially careful. Here you can see one of the logos or one of their signs of one of the processing plants of Bruce Pack, which Yep. Yeah, this is happening more and more in the meat industry, and yet another reason to stay vigilant with all these recalls. And again, thankfully in this particular case, no one's passed away from this, and no one's even been caught sick yet. So again, silver lining situation is going to be caught ahead of people have caught onto this, or it's been brought to the forefront sooner rather than later. So again, if you have these products, it's called Bruce Pack products. I mean, just throw them away, not worth the risk of actually possibly consuming bad meat. But I don't know who's in the quality control department, because they definitely should have caught this right off the bat before shipping it out. So I gotta say, Bruce Pack, your recall is definitely the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.